Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? Okay, that's great, everyone. Really good to see you again. So we are just starting our brunch meeting. I think this is this 11th brunch meeting that we are doing here in Go Brunch. So I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Richard Lowenthal. I am co-founder of Go Brunch, and it's been an honor to promote these brunch meetings and have people from all over the world. It's really, really, really great. So for today, let me just share the mission that we have. As we always say, the idea of this group that we are building is to share information and help each other with tips, best practices about teaching and lectures and presenting online. And this meeting we do every other week. Before we just proceed, if you are still not in our WhatsApp group, feel free to join. It's our group of educators from, we have people from all over the world. And thank you everyone for joining today. And now let me just introduce you our speaker. Today, the topic is how forced online classes can finally enable educators to improve learning. And our special lecture today is Fred Pacheco, who is an experienced professional in marketing, management, and corporate education with almost 20 years of executive roles, both in Brazil and US, including startups and Forbes 500s, strong academic education at major international universities, including one master in education technology, always up to date with innovation, lecturing, and graduation courses. Welcome, Fred. Really nice to have you here today.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Richard. Thank you so much for your introduction, for the invitation to be here today, sharing a little bit about this thing with you all. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the poll. We can see that almost half of us work in universities with adult education, colleges, undergrad, postgrad, and so on. But we have people from all the kind of educations, all the levels of educations. And the good news is everything we'll talk today can apply to everybody. And let me put my presentation on your screens. Yeah, that's fine. Well, the lecture title is a little bit big because it's kind of like we do in research area, but actually it's simple. The idea today is to talk about how our current situation with online classes and all forced educations going online can help the educators to finally do a better education, a better learning process in special. So, Richard has introduced me very well, so I will not take so much time on that again. But just to let you know, I'm a researcher in adult educations, especially the part of the use of technology. I I concluded my master degree in education in 2017, and since then I was researching and talking of everything is happening right now. I could never predict that 3 years later everybody would be using what I were studying that time. But now it's the new time we are living. So it's kind of funny. It's a horrible situation, but actually it's a challenging and amazing opportunity for us, especially who are learning about the education technologies before. It's really amazing. Still about me, I'm the managing director of Logos Training and Consulting. It's a Brazilian-based company that help big corporates training teams and doing lectures. I'm a lecturer here in Brazil too, a speaker here in Brazil, and I work in some post-graduation courses here in Brazil, in Spain, and in Chile too. Well, the first thing I would like to share with you today is that each course has a different approach, of course, you know that. The lectures like this one or workshops are short events, and the idea is to have the maximum of contents in a short time. So, in advance, I apologize because I will not use everything I will show you today, because my idea here is to bring many tools and many opportunities all educators have, but in a lecture we will not use everything, okay? But the it's the characteristic of these events. But when we are talking about academic course, it's really different. We have the content of each class connected to a bigger main target, and then we have to explore all the technologies we have available, all the interaction models and methodologies, and that's the main topic we'll cover today. And we have also the non-academic course that has particular characteristics, and it depends. You can have, for example, yoga classes doing online right now, so it demands a different approach, a different methodology, but here we will focus on academic disciplines, okay? The very first point is education has changed hardly nothing until now. We are using the same classrooms architecture, the same lectures structure, the same power control teacher approach, and for decades, almost centuries, we are doing the same. Since the Industrial Revolution, we are using this kind of schools, but we have a huge opportunity to change education, to improve learning process. Well, the first statistic I would like to share with you is about how the social isolation with the pandemic crisis are making the change in education more urgent and making it very, very faster. Well, if we check it out at Google, the searches for online courses, free courses, and how to teach online, we see that it was already demanded before the crisis in a very average level. But when the crisis began, when the isolation started in many countries, the search for these topics went really fast grow. So it was 3 times and 6 times higher for online courses, and now it's established again in something like 1.5 times than before. So everybody is demanding online courses, demanding learn how to teach online, how to help children studying online. All these subjects are in hype right now. But actually, it's not new. And it's important to understand that technology has an important role in everything, but the most important in education is the methodology, is the intention of use of each methodology, each part of the teaching process. For example, distance learning is not something new from the internet, from the online environment. Actually, the first mention of distance learning we have in society comes from 2000 years ago. 2000 years ago, St. Paul was sending letters to some Christian communities like Corinthians, and it was actually a distance learning process. He was teaching the Christian communities how to make sermons, how to grow in number of participants and everything. So distance learning is not new. We need to understand how the process works. We need to understand how to use it to really use the technology the right way. Of course, it was not only 2,000 years ago. Then it comes the press creation from Gutenberg that made all the books available, and it was also a kind of distance learning. Then in 1920s, we had the distance learning through letters, through mail. In US, for example, only in one country, US, they had 4 million students doing courses through the mail, and it was bigger than the number of university students at the same time, for example. So distance learning is not a new topic. Only the technologies are new. But if we want to use correctly the technology, we gotta understand how to use it, why to use it, what's the education goals that we will get better with technology. One example that I love that shows these improvements and these use of technology is the creation of Khan Academy. The story behind Khan Academy is really cool. This guy on the screen is Salman Khan. He was software engineering at that time, and as all software engineering, he was great in math and physics. And one day, his sister asked him to give personal classes to his nephews, and he started doing classes about math to his nephews. So, but once he had to work by travel, he had to travel by work, and he stayed 2 months away from home, away from his nephews. So he recorded a lot of videos giving classes on math and prepared lessons, homeworks to the nephews do, and he could correct it by distance. So after the travel, after the 2 months using videos on YouTube and homeworks, he head back to home. But the nephew said, "You know, uncle, we love to learn with you, but it's much better using the videos. Could we keep doing it?" And he realized that with videos, the nephews could replay many times as they want, could see again only one part of the lesson, could faster up if they want, and it was really powerful for the students. So some can realize that he could create the Khan Academy. There is a repository of a lot of math videos that anyone can study at their own pace, at their own time. And it was huge in 2008. After that, in 2012, the Moocs, the massive online open courses, started with a lot of players, huge players like Coursera, edX, Udacity, from Stanford, from MIT, from Harvard, and they use the same methodology. A lot of videos that anyone can study at any time and see how many times he wants. It's a huge and powerful methodology that we can learn from. But how learning technologies can really change education? What we can do at our own classrooms right now? So we have some trends in education post-pandemic that I will detail in the next slides. But just to let you know, we are talking about active learning techniques that is really important to put the students at the center of the process. Flipped classroom that really use better the asynchronous materials, adaptive learning tools that can provide each student the best path for him individually, live and on-demand contents, and hybrid teaching classes, online plus in person, combining that. So, why the active learnings are really that important, and it really is so important? Because here we have the cone of learning, the pyramid of learning, that show that one lecture here, for example, you will you will receive only 5% of what I'm saying, and I know that, and there is no problem, because after that you will receive the material, the PDF, and you can study more, you can practice, you can follow the links I will left for you, but you will retain now only 5%. If you read some material, 10%, audiovisual videos, 20%, demonstrations, 30%. But when you really active in learning process, like discussion groups, you retain 50%, one half. If you practice by doing, if we have labs, if you practice together, it's 75%. And if you teach others, everybody knows that here, because we are teachers, we know that teaching, we teach, but most of all, we learn much more. So learning by teaching, it's a powerful way of learning. So based on that, becomes the active learning methodologies. Some examples are problem-based learning, when we do a problem, a project, something like that, a challenge for the students, and they have to look for the solution, they have to work together to present some ideas. That's really cool. Role playing, like case studies, like discussions, all of this is really powerful. So I really think you should learn more about active learning to implement in your classes. But active learning has one really important point to take attention. Active learning demands the students' responsibility. The students gotta have an active role on the process. And I don't know in each country you are from, but it really depends on the country culture. For example, I've studied for a while in US, and I know that US, all the students are really committed with the learning process. They know they have to prepare for classes. But here in Brazil, in opposite, students are really not involved in the learning process. The teacher has this responsibility. It's a kind of cultural thing from us, you know. I think it's important to change, but it's like Brazil is, for example. If I try to implement active learning here in Brazil one time without preparing anything, probably I will have a lot of students problems. I tried in the past actually, and it just doesn't work like it works in US, for example. So it's important to understand your country learning culture to know how the students will dedicate their time to prepare for the classes, to participate in discussions, groups, and all this kind of stuff, okay? But it's important to use, and even in countries like Brazil, we can use. It's only a matter of adapting. It's only a matter of, at the beginning of the course, you explain the students the objectives, the targets of this methodology, and how and why it's so important they are involved, okay? It's really important. Other important methodology is the flipped classroom, and it works even better in technological environments. It can work in person environment also. It's not new either. It has 50 years now, basically, that Harvard and other universities are using this methodology, and it consists in this idea. Look here at my presentation right now, And we can see that in traditional classroom models, we have the students supposed to look over the material before the class, but in practice here in Brazil, as I was saying, they don't. And then they come to the class and the professor presents a lecture. The professors give them the knowledge. I don't like to say that because it's completely not right, not like this in practice, but it was the expectation. The professor will give the knowledge and then they go home to try the new knowledge in homeworks. But if they have doubts, there is no way to clear that. So the flipped classroom, the idea is to flipping this model. You will change the contents for out of class. So in home, before the classes, which the students have to learn the theory by themselves using recorded videos by professors, using
And how do you manage, to work with flipped classrooms when you don't have a culture for this? As you mentioned here in Brazil, for example, people don't like to read before the classes. So how do you manage this in circumstances as, culture, uh, people that are not used to work with at home? How do you think we can manage with this, Fred?
I will answer your question, but actually, uh, I'm really interested in know in understand from the participants here how is the culture in each country. If you can share in the chat box, what is your country for, and how is the culture of the students? They are really involved in the learning process, or they are more like Brazilians, for example, that expect the teacher conduct all the process. If you can share with us some uh, some thoughts about that, would be great. Well, Richard, your question is really good. Here in Brazil, you know, as I do, that students are not expecting to be so involved to study prior to the classes, but it works. If you, at the first class, you set the expectations, you explain how active learning methodology works, how flipped classroom will work, they can participate. You can have their dedication to that. But it's a matter of talking, setting the expectations, explain how it works. And actually, with technology, it's a little bit easier right now, I guess, because before we had the physical aspect that they just want to learn inside classrooms. Now how they are, the students are in home all the time, they are at their own home, it's kind of easier to convince them that they need to learn in home, you know. So we can provide all the contents they should use, and it works, it's better now.
Sounds
Continue.
great. So we have a lot of insights here. So, for example, Anna is just saying that Poland is it's just like in Brazil. Taraj is saying that via using Edmodo and using online tools like Padlet and Wakelet. I don't know. I never heard about Wakelet. Sounds interesting. Vicky is saying in Italy they enjoy studying before the class. Still, they might do it 20 minutes before they enter in the room. So this is a very interesting idea, right? So
Yeah,
one of the things that we have been encouraging our students is to, and also our teachers, is to create engaging questions at the beginning of your class. So that would, and this idea of 20 minutes before might be interesting. So you can warm up, and then you don't necessarily need to assign something like a homework. What do you think about it, Fred?
I loved this idea. My dream is having students with this kind of culture already. But we can create this culture here in Brazil and in any country. I love the idea of Italian students doing it already. American students, for sure, study a lot before the class. They are used to read a study case, read books, and all this stuff. Of course, here in Brazil, we have these also when we are talking about master degrees, PhD degrees. Of course, the students do it already, but in all levels we can provide that. It's just a matter of explaining and providing contents. Of course, the students will learn in prior only if they have the links to the videos, if they have the link to articles, if they have the material they can prepare to the class, and they know when they are at classrooms it will be no lectures, it will be group discussions, doubts clarifying. So it changes completely the dynamic of the classroom. The professor are not giving knowledge anymore. The professor are there to help students learning, to talk about it, to discuss, to provoke questions, and everybody is learning together. This is the most important and powerful part of the flipped classroom. And of course, it's a much better use of our time in class, because with lecture we are wasting time giving content they could study by themselves. So in flipped model we have a better use for each one difficult, for each student's needs. So we can focus only on that. They come to class and say, "Oh, professor, I've studied the content, but I didn't understood this part." Okay, let's talk about it. Let's explain a little bit about this part, but not the whole thing. And then, of course, back on home, they will check the understanding. They will work in groups with other students' assignments. Then can rewatch the videos he studied before and anything they need, right? Um, it's important to understand the difference from synchronous activities and asynchronous activities in that context of flipped classrooms. The synchronous activities will be what we will do at classroom or online at the same time. So we gotta take advantage of the live attendance of these moments. It cannot be much longer than 1.5 hours, because the focus will rise down. But we can use a lot of interactive tools like polls, break rooms, discussion boards, debates, questions and answers, sharing students' screen to explain something that make these moments much more powerful. And in opposite, we have also the asynchronous activities that will be the content we will provide for the students to prepare before the class. And we can use a huge number of types. And as much as we use, it's better, because each student has one learning approach, one different type of learning characteristic. So for some students, the most important will be videos, for other assignments, for other quizzes, for other reading articles, and everything. So it's important to provide different type of contents so each student will make on their own, you know. But they one point here, they avoid a great amount of contents in this phase, because if we give too much, probably the students will not try to see everything. So videos should be between 2 and 8 minutes. Articles shouldn't be longer than 5 to 7 minutes reading. It's only short periods to prepare for the classes. Okay. And to finish this part, we have some do's and don'ts on online teaching. The first do, we gotta focus on preparation, both from students and the teacher. We gotta be prepared for the online classes because it's a different dynamic. It has to have different approach. We gotta keep classes varied because the online it's more difficult to keep focus on what the teacher are saying. So we gotta use videos, we gotta use polls, we gotta discuss with students during the class and everything we can. And we gotta allow time for to the students making connections. In class, it's easier, but online we gotta set some times to discuss, to try the understanding, to test everything. Because as we are not seeing all the students, it's more difficult. But we gotta force it online. And some things that we should to avoid. We could not assign too much reading, as I said already. We cannot be obsessed with technology, as I said. To technology is really good and allow many things, but the most important is the education. The most important is the learning process. The technology is only the channel. It's important. And don't try to cover too much. Don't have the expectation that you will cover the same subject online that you were used to cover in person. It's almost impossible. Online has another timing, another dynamic, but we can complement that with all the other materials, with all the other studying times at home. Okay. And finally, we should mix it up. We have to combine many learning experience to create a really good class. So the first thing, we gotta choose the right style to set the tone of the class. It can be both here in Go Branch Online, for example, or even in a physical classroom. We gotta choose if we will have the lecture room like this one we are sitting right now because it's a lecture. It's one person talking. But if you want more discussions, U architecture should be good, that you be in the center and all the students around. Or if you want to make the students practice together, discussion groups, a lot of small tables can be much better. For example, using gamification is a huge, powerful way to make classes more interesting and more efficient. It's an amazing topic. I really recommend everybody uh, look for it. We can use quizzes tools. It's a really powerful tool too, and it works from preschool to universities. I use a lot this tool, for example, the Kahoot, and I use it in undergrad students, graduation students, and even in C-levels, CEOs from huge companies. They love it. Everyone, because it's competitive, because it's a way to gamification of the content, and it's competitive. So everybody loves it. It's like in the screen right now. Usually the teacher shows the question and the students answer in mobile phone or computer or notebooks or any online devices. Here we have a video of the use of this tool that show really how the students love it. You can use it at home, like this one, playing and studying in online environments like this one, with classrooms working together, or even in person physical classrooms. I used a lot in my graduation courses, and it's really powerful to make the students learning. There are many ways of doing it. things from multi-options questions to open questions or ludic material like this. And here I love this part when the students are competing with themselves and see how each one. It's a free tool, by the way. It's really amazing. You can create an account in Kahoot and create your quizzes and use it for free. There is plans for schools, universities, of course, but as an individual teacher, you can use it free. It's amazing. Okay, really, really worth the investment of studying that. That's it. Well, other tool that I would like to recommend is Go Conquer. It's a complete solution for creating interactive classes. It's really good. There is the link over there. To put the students in center, we have the Mentio. There is a platform for collaborations, discussion. It gives grades for the participation of the students automatically. So it's pretty pretty awesome, sorry. And here has a lot of powerful tools, links, so you can study that later. From repository of videos to prep studies for the classes until tools to use during the class. And of course, I'm sure you already know that, but as educators, we gotta have a lifelong learning process, right? So I put here 3 interesting links, 2 from Google, 1 from Coursera, that has courses for teachers, and there are many other that we have available, and it's all free, by the way, too. So it's a good way to be prepared. And to close my speech today with you, I had some final tips. First of all, understand that at home learning is completely different. Our students have more distractions right now, have children screaming, dogs barking, and everything, So we gotta consider that and make the classes more interactive, more engaging, more interesting for them. In the first class, in the first moment of the semester, you gotta make a strong first impression. It's important to show good energy. If you need things, take some caffeine before. Smile to the camera. I always put and post it in the camera, remembering me to smile, because it's really difficult to be happy and smiling when everything is going on around you in technical issues like microphones, like you realized today, of course. But it's really important to have a good energy, a positive smile on your face. Dress a little better at the first day, not too much, because we want to avoid the separation, but show the people you are really caring about this moment. And innovation formats. First class usually are boring with the reading of syllables, and try something different, try something new. Use tools that show the course structures, but in a more interactive and interesting ways. We have many ways, many technologies that can help right now. You gotta make each class completely personal to the students. So avoid as much as you can to only show slides without your face. Always use your camera. If it's possible, ask the students to open their cameras too. They don't like to do that, but it's important to the teacher. Seeing the student's face is really powerful, but your face gotta be there all the time. And if it's possible, use not only your camera, but if you can be standing and doing gestures And walking around, it's even better because it makes it more like a real classroom. So of course we gotta have a studio with a green background for that. But if you can do it because it's much better. But at least open your camera. And complementing these thoughts, it's really important to address all the students using their names. It's powerful. Believe me, when you are in the other side of a screen, it's easy to think the class, the content is not for you. But if the teacher use the names, if the teachers ask each students to participate by name, it's really more engaging. It takes the class for another level. Try to remember all students' names, put a name lists beside your computer and use it to ask people to participate, to involve the students. And the last thing, everything I told you today can be used both online and in-person courses. It's important that after the pandemic, we do not discard everything we are creating now. We use in class every methodology, every active learning process, every preparation material, everything again, because I believe so much that future is hybrid learning. It will be the combination of good in-person classrooms and a bigger time of online studying. So we will use it forever. Do you think so? What do you think? Put in the chat room, please, if you agree with me, because I really think these powerful learning tools can be used every class, anywhere, in online or on campus environments. Okay, and all this material I dedicate in memory of Sir Ken Robinson. I don't know if you knew Ken Robinson before, but he died last week, unfortunately. But he was one of the better educator I ever met. There are some TED Talks from Sir Ken Robinson on YouTube and TED platform. So look for him. It is really important. Okay. And now, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it, to discuss a little bit. Oh, and of course, thank you everybody for the attention, the dedication of this content. I really hope it can help in your classes because I love to share about education. It's my life passion for sure. And I'm so, and here you have all my contacts too. I will keep here talking to anybody who wants to make questions or comments or help.
Great.
But you will have always my contacts. You can send me mails, connect in LinkedIn, talk to me in Instagram. It will be a pleasure to me.
Perfect. Perfect, Fred. Thank you very much. Anyone has some questions for Fred? If you want, feel free if you want me to turn on the microphone or just use the chat box. Also, I was just remembering here we have some very useful material developed by David, who's here, about different teaching methods. So I'm just sharing with you. Fred, are you going to share this presentation as well?
Absolutely, for sure, Richard. It will be a pleasure to share this content with everybody.
Great.
After the tomorrow, today afternoon, I will send you, Richard, the presentation to share with all participants. For sure,
Great. Thank you very much, Fred.
it's a pleasure.
Okay, let me know if any one of you want to ask any question using the microphone, or just feel free to type in the chat box. One of the things that I really like Go Brunch, and of course, I have to say this is because I can't see who's typing. Otherwise, I get anxious. All right. Dominic, thanks, Fred. That's nice. Yes, Camis. Issuing certificates is something that generates some work, but we are going to work on it. Thanks for the presentation. Could the countries Yeah. Um, yes, Chris. We are just planning the French version, so that's it's interesting question that you have just made. A great presentation. Okay, everyone. So since I think nobody has a question, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's session. Thank you, Fred, for sharing this insightful presentation with us. Yeah, Abel is asking a question here, how to prepare materials to the students from different cultures. So, Abel, are you asking something, for example, if you have students from different countries? Let me know if this is the question that you have.
About your question, Abel, it's a really good question when we have to prepare material and contents and classes for students with different culture. It's really important to understand their cultures, to put the students' goals on the center of the process so you can prepare a good class. If you are doing, for example, online classes for global participants, all around the world, the tip I can give you is to provide different ways of learning for each topic you wanna cover. For example, for the same content, you should provide one video, one article, one interactive game, so different students can use the contents in their preferred way. Okay. But if it's just a different culture from yours, you gotta understand and adapt. For example, as I said in my presentation, I'm professor for students in Brazil, of course, but also in Chile and Spain. So when I receive a different country students class, I understand how they like to learn. I adapt all the examples. I adapt the content for what works better for them. But if it's in the same class, different type of students, my recommendation is provide different options, make it available different type of contents for them. I hope it was what you asking about.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you again, Fred. Thank you for your insightful presentation. It was brilliant. Thank you, everyone, from joining today. Please keep in touch with us, everything that you have. Also, if you have any topics that you'd like to suggest for the upcoming meetings, it would be great to hear from you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night, a good afternoon, or a good morning, depending on where you are. Be safe. Cheers, and I see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Richard, for the invitation. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. It was a pleasure to be here. See you.